lack of engagement between both youth and police. Keep those on your mind. We're also going to talk Hajj, Arafah and Eid tomorrow. Aren't you excited for Eid, Zeynab?
I sure am. But I think burning question is maybe the wrong phrase to use at the moment, given what we're talking about tonight.
Oh, really? Why? In what sense?
Burning question, restaurants burning down.
Oh, here we go. Playing on the pun. Anyway, you know what I meant. It's a burning question on your mind. So basically, we're going to open up the line now, inshallah. We have with us today 2 police representatives from New South Wales Police, Brother Danny Mikati, and Ghandi Sindiyan. Welcome to the program, guys.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, brother. It's an honor to be here, man.
Thanks a lot. And Danny, is your mic working?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I can. You just need to speak up a bit.
Wonderful. Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so Danny, and guys, can you just introduce your name when you speak, just so for the audience at home. So Danny, you're the leading senior constable for Bankstown Local Area Command, and Ghandi, you are the community liaison officer for KMC Police, very well known in the community, as is Danny. We're going to talk crime in Western Sydney today. You guys ready?
I don't know how ready we can be for this topic, but let's get into it.
Okay, Danny, you should be able to, Danny, can you hear me? Can you just...
I can hear you.
Perfect. Here we go. Oh, Lakemba and our technical problems. It's all good thus far. Okay, so basically, crime in Western Sydney. It's an issue. It's also a stereotype. I go to university in the city at UTS. I have my friends, feel a bit apprehensive when I say I'm from Western Sydney. Why is that so? Why is there a stereotype about Western Sydney? Open up to Ghandi and Danny. Feel free to interject.
Okay, well, look, I think, first of all, the media plays a massive role in the perception of what's happening, especially in southwest Sydney, especially with the recent spate of violence that's made its way to the media. It's really put southwest Sydney in the spotlight. However, we need to bear in mind, looking at statistics and crime figures, the crime figures, especially in southwest Sydney, have been declining for a number of years. We're definitely better than we were, and we're definitely not the highest category in crime.
So why do you think this stereotype is being perpetuated as much as ever, if those are the statistics, in fact?
Look, again, it's what sells papers as well. You need to talk about that as well. Like, a lot of it is the media portrayal. Like I said, the crime figures and policing operations. Policing operations have definitely increased over the years, and their effectiveness is just increasing from year to year. And the crime figures are very much down what they used to be, especially when Ghandi and I joined over 12 years ago. So, again, look, I think there's been a focus. Again, talking about things like shootings, it's more sort of, the propaganda, the attraction of the firearms, as opposed to talking about the decrease in stealings or robberies and that kind of stuff, which is what's happening in this area. Yeah,
and Ghandi, I can see you're deep in thought. What's on your mind?
Brother, I'm always deep in thought. Look, just adding on to what Danny's saying, I guess also the perception is another factor. In what sense? In the sense that we're also guilty of feeding into the misconceptions or the perceptions. For example, like we give the portrayal of the way sometimes that when we want to try to get a message across, it's not the message that we're trying to get across, it's how we try to get it across. We got to be, obviously being Muslims as well, yes, we have to think twice as hard as anybody else, because we know that everything that we say, people are going to stick to, and they're going to say, oh, see, because of their religion, because of this. But at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for our behaviour. It's important that we are responsible. Just before we went on air, I'm saying we've got, obviously we're proud of our religion. We love our religion. Brother, I've been working here for 14 years. I wouldn't want to work anywhere else, and that's the honest truth. And I'm proud to work. The people here are absolutely beautiful. They're absolutely kind-hearted, wonderful. Majority of the people really just want to get on with life, raise their kids in a safe area. The parents, we see them, they talk. We're so humbled that we're able to serve our community. I honestly believe that we've got the best jobs there is. But the most important thing, if I can just add, is that people don't understand how we have been able to, behind the scenes within the New South Wales Police Force, educate the police about Islam, educate police about culture. We're also, without going into too much detail, inshallah, very soon, there's the hijab, is going to become possibly part of the police uniform.
Wow.
That's something that we're working on as well.
That's fantastic. And I mean, look, we'll get to the point where you're saying about the engagement between police and young people. I just want to bring up, let's be frank, there are, as you're saying, and it's a very good point, we need responsible parents to raise responsible kids. But for the kids now who are 20, i.e. Ahmed, for example, and I'm going to stereotype here, Ahmed from Bankstown or Greenacre or Auburn, who's a 20-year-old, drug dealer running around selling drugs around the station in the streets of the suburbs. What do you do about him? Do you lock him up or do you rehabilitate him?
Look, that kind of question again. It's got to be in its own context. Every case is different. Look, as police officers, we're not blind to the flow and effect in society. It's not a matter of locking everybody up because, again, the things that are taught in jails, the system has its flaws as well in terms of rehabilitation. So we would much prefer people are rehabilitated, of course. However, there's lines you don't cross, and I don't think anybody is going to accept in society people shooting people, people killing people, people sexually assaulting other people. You're not going to want that. I don't want that for my son. I don't want that for my daughter. And I don't want that for anyone else. So there are lines that can't be crossed. But of course, if there are places where, especially with our youth, that can be rehabilitated, and we've met some wonderful examples that people have turned their life around and done so much for this community. So we wouldn't be so naive to tarnish everyone with the same brush. But absolutely, we'd prefer rehabilitation over incarceration any day, as long as it's safety.
That's a good point because we hear about lock up, send them away. The age-old debate of go back to where you came from, put them in jail, they break the law. But as you'll say, the first point of contact is to hopefully rehabilitate them, and if that's possible, then why not? And there are prime examples, as you mentioned. Any young examples that really stood out for you guys of a young person who has changed their lives?
But there's there's plenty of examples. I know Danny just ran into well, back then he was a young fella, and he just ran into him about 2 weeks ago. That's one example. Brother, we can give you so many examples of I remember a kid, I wish I could say his name, he's now an adult, and he said, I'll never forget that day we sat down and spoke, and just the way he kept coming to the house and speaking to my parents and speaking to me, I want to thank you for that. Like, that is what makes you want to get up and come back to work every single day. Brother, the beauty about our roles is we take advantage of where we are situated to help our community.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of people look at us and say, oh, you're working for, and they'll use derogatory terms. For example, one word is dog, But if they actually understand what they're saying, a dog is loyal. So if we're loyal, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? And that's for me, brother. But at least I can go home every night, inshallah, and say, I helped somebody today. I did something positive today. The question I have to ask that person is, what did you do today that's positive, I guess, we can talk about a lot of things in regards to, especially from a parenting point of view, If we want to talk about positives, if you look at, especially the high schools in our area, the PNC meetings are predominantly Muslim families. So I remember when I first started, you had to almost door knock to get a couple of parents to attend something. Now we, in partnership with the Lebanese Muslim Association, AFL New South Wales,
great sport, AFL.
Yes it is, brother.
I had to throw that in there.
You know what I mean? Metro Migrant Resource Centre, Riverwood Community Centre, all these organisations. And sorry if I've left someone out. And we get parents. We get 300 to 400 parents attending a function without even really promoting it. So we have come a long way. Our parents are starting to get involved, but it doesn't mean that we take our foot off the accelerator. Yep. The difference with our community is we have to keep working hard. We can't say, job done, now I can relax. Yep. The thing is, my job is become, for me, and I know I can honestly say this on behalf of Danny as well, is we pride ourselves on what we do every single day, especially with our community. Sometimes we might get upset and say things we don't say them out of hatred. We don't say them out of anger. We say them out of
passion.
out of passion, and we get disappointed that why are you doing this? Like one question we ask our youth: what do you want to do when you grow up? Don't know. Where do you see yourself? Don't know. So when they got a lack of direction and no objectives in life, that's where you think, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, that raises the point because a lot of people have said there's sort of this us versus them mentality amongst the youth in our community where they perceive the cops as this enemy, who they want to, like, rise up against. And it's seen as, like, this struggle between the cops and, like, who's going to get the upper hand. And so how do you think this sort of attitude develops and what can we do to combat it?
Oh, look, it's the age-old debate. Anywhere in the world you have this thing, it's cool to be anti-authority.
Or be a rebel.
Absolutely. I mean, like anti-establishment, all that kind of stuff. Try to be a bit of a son of anarchy. At the end of the day, look, we don't take it personally anyway. However, but what we need to think about is these kids at school. Do you think they were getting along with their teachers? Were they happy with their principal? Are they getting along with their parents? I mean, that's where it starts. So you're saying it's an authority
figure thing, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, let's go back to Cronulla riots. Cronulla riots was never a police versus community at any stage. And it's very interesting. And the first scenes we ever saw of the Cronulla riots were the police standing over and copping bottles in the head, protecting the Muslim families in Cronulla. That were the first images, first depictions of the unrest. We haven't forgotten that, and the majority of our community hasn't forgotten that either. So, in terms of these days now, where there's it's cool to make comments and all that kind of stuff. Get them by themselves, however, and speak to their parents. It's a completely different story.
Yep. And in a practical sense, I mean, I participated in a police mentoring program.
Yep. When
I was in Year 10. I went to Granville Boys High School. You have boys who think it's their pride and glory to put it over a cop.
Yep.
But 6 boys did this, and I was, alhamdulillah, my father was a cop for 12 years, so I've always been open-minded when it comes to the police. But I noticed a lot of changes in the way these boys think, but it took 3 months for that to happen. So that's not, there aren't going to be mentoring programs every single day. How can we do something like that bond that they built between, a young guy seeing a human being in a cop, aside from and the cop seeing that not all Middle Eastern people are criminals. How can that happen on a larger scale? Because that was a very minor example.
Look, I think it starts at home, number one. I mean, I know Ghandi and I have the same vein when it comes to our parents. And we always tell the kids this, we're both of us have probably about 30, 40 kilos on our dads. And still till now, a look from our dads makes us look to the ground.
Yep.
And it's about respect. It's not about fear, it's about respect. To the point where if I was very vigilant when, as a child, worrying that the teacher would call my father over anything. And that never left me as I became a father myself. So if the parents are passing on respect, then the respect is going to be there for their elders. Respect is going to be there for their teachers, their principals, all that kind of thing. And that's exactly where it flows from. The people that we've come across usually, very rarely is there this love and respect for family and their teachers and then all of a sudden a hatred towards us. That's extremely rare. It always tends to be congruent to what's happening with the rest of authority around them.
Yeah, because we spoke a lot about rehabilitation, but I mean, prevention is always better than cure, right? So you're saying that what needs to happen is it needs to start in the home from the time that they're young, and the parents need to instill like a sense of respect in their kids for authority figures.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that's an Islamic teaching.
Yeah.
Before you answer, give me a sec. Guys, we're going to open up the lines. If you have a question for Ghandi or for Danny, we're having a really good discussion here, an honest discussion about the community, about youth and police. Give us a call on 9758 3399. That's 9758 3399, and we'll hopefully, you can ask a question to these very honest police officers who are working very hard in the community. So, Ghandi, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, for all over the years, we used to get asked to go and do talks between, about the relationship between youth and police. And so many years blindly we'd just walk in there and say, the police are doing the youth, the police. Then one day I got invited, it was actually earlier this year, to do a talk. It was a Saturday night. And I went there and I actually had everything prepared to talk about youth and police. As I got up, I thought, you know what? Why should I even talk about when the bigger issue is youth and their parents? It's not about youth and the police. It's about youth. Look, any kid that has the utmost respect for their parents and has the respect for their teachers, mate, will more likely have that same respect. Now, in no way do we say that every police officer out there has the best communication skills or has the best work ethics. There are, just like in any profession, there's a difference between the uniform and the person wearing the uniform. It's important to understand that, yes, you're going to come across some police officers that unfortunately could communicate better, can deal with the situation better. You know, you got to be smart about it. For me, policing is, you got to be, mate, the biggest weapon is communication, okay? But we also got to look at our youth. A lot of our youth, when they're by themselves, they're so, so quiet. As soon as they're with a group of friends, bang. The biggest problem, if you ask me, what do I think? It's that our youth want to follow. They don't want to lead. We need to get them to start becoming leaders, not to just follow somebody because somebody said do this. They're trying to impress. The only person you have to impress is yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely.
And when you try to impress Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mate, you'll impress the right people the right way.
Now, that's a very good point, and it probably leads on to this, but this is a very specific question from an anonymous Y-Factorian from Facebook. So this sister has asked, what are local police doing about the protection money incidences, rashes, taste of Thai, najis? We all know it's got to do with protection money. I have spoken to restaurant owners about it, and some have told me they've been approached, been intimidated, and been threatened, including a local hairdresser. So what are the local police doing about these sort of incidents?
Okay, I'll take this one. Look, bearing in mind, obviously, we can't discuss lines of investigation and what we think. Put it this way, the police aren't oblivious to what's happening. Police are very, very well aware. The difference is we got to understand that our system of the judicial system is based on evidence, is based on testimony, is based on statements. So people that want to keep everything hush-hush or don't want to go to court, or people that don't want to tell the truth in testimony, I mean, that automatically sabotages the legal system. What people need to remember about police is we investigate and we bring people to the court. So think of us as a glorified couriers. We pick them up, drive them to the court. What happens after that is not in our hands. And the community at large usually knows what's happening behind the scenes. And of course we do. And we know a fair bit more. However, it's about people going through the processes the correct way. So it's not always as simple as, I can't just charge people on suspicion. I can't lock you up because I know what you've done unless I can prove it.
And here's another thing. This is an interesting point. I grew up around this sort of environment. If you say anything, you're a snitch.
Yep.
I'm being very frank.
Yeah.
This is what young people in our sort of cultures say, and this is the jargon and the words that are used. So do you feel as police, whenever these sort of incidents happen, you're faced with a wall of silence, and that makes the issue so much harder to resolve?
Look, again, there's a big perception about this wall of silence, again. And a lot of it is exactly what Ghandi is saying, talking about communication. I'm not going to generalize and say that there's a wall of silence because we've spoken to a lot of people. And a lot of people give information. What's interesting to me is, and this goes back to, again, family and what we decide to bring over. If we go back and think about the generations before us that were back overseas, and like myself, I'm from a Lebanese background. Going back to Lebanon, if you think in the village in Lebanon, if someone steals something, people aren't going to talk, you're dreaming. If you think someone commits a crime in the neighborhood and the police come and ask questions, they don't answer, you're dreaming. What's funny is we choose to pick what we want to bring the values from overseas to here, and we leave other things aside. Back home, if the school principal called you and said, your son's been doing this, you would be so ashamed about the principal calling you, and you would chastise that child. Would you ever question the principal's authority or his judgment? Never. Would you ever call the teacher a liar or a racist or prejudiced towards your child? Never. However, over here, we tend to see so much of that. We don't give the teachers and the principals the respect that your parents used to give when they were back overseas. So again, we're picking and choosing what we want to bring and say it's our culture. I don't feel it's a cultural thing, the wall of silence. This is something that's been created here to suit their own purposes.
Yeah, and just to remind our listeners again, if you want to call in, our number is 9758 333, 99. And okay, so I just want to pick up that point again that you mentioned about parents, and like I don't want to, get too controversial here, but do you think that there's maybe an attitude with the parents as well that they're instilling into their kids? Because, for example, like when you're thinking of the SCAF cases, the mother in that case was actually she was found to be smuggling things into the jail for her son, and this is after he's been sentenced, right? He was found guilty of these crimes, but yet his mum is still going to these lengths. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Oh, let me give you a scenario, and I'm not going to go into that case because, yeah. However, I've got my own views on that. But let me give you a scenario. We have a family, and again, I'm not stereotyping, I'm talking about families that we deal with. Think about what police deal with. We usually deal with criminal-associated problems, right? So we're not seeing the best of society, we're seeing the worst of society. But here's the scope that we look at. Everybody will know someone like this. The father maybe early in his entry to the country started working, maybe, but possibly he didn't because there was an injury, all right? Hence the stereotype of led back, right? So the child is born, never has once seen his father have a day's work ever, right? Son is born, mother does, mother is tutor, mother is soccer coach, mother is mentor, mother plays every single role that she can play. Mother has more than one child, father still doesn't have a job. However, money is coming in. All of a sudden, we're signing documents saying we got an aged pension, a disability pension,
Centrelink,
a veteran pension, whatever it takes, okay? And money is really coming in. Now, as the child grows up, where's dad? Dad's at a cafe smashing an arguile, right? Again, son doesn't see the reaction on how should a male or how should a man respond to certain situations in life because he's not seeing it.
So you think there's a lack of male role models, basically? Absolutely.
And as he grows older, what has he learned? Dad gets to go overseas, takes the family once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year overseas. They have 2 4-wheel drives, brand new. Money is coming in. And then all of a sudden the son's learned, you know what? If I lie, if I cheat, if I do the least I can to get the most I can, that's success. Then the father comes to me in Ghandi 12 years, 15 years later. Please help us, my son's a drug dealer. How did that happen? I've been in this country 35 years, never done anything, never committed a sin, never seen police. Yeah, I understand that, but you've also never had a day's work. You've never instilled values that you were talking. Because people can talk the talk, but a child needs to see his parents walk the walk.
So what you're saying is it's a lot of socioeconomic type issues which are behind these crimes. Like, for example, if you address the unemployment issue, do you think that would have a big impact on crime levels amongst the youth?
Look, there's no denying that finances, like, put it this way, after the GFC happened, we saw an increase in gambling type afflictions, right? So families suffering with gambling had then resorted to do certain things that they maybe wouldn't have done. However, let me tell you something. You make the decision. You are the author of your own destiny in terms of what decisions you decide to make. What difference is it for the people that have decided, that the parents have decided to work 3 jobs to keep their family above water, right? As opposed to the other ones that have decided to steal. That's the question I ask.
Can I? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Look, really quickly. One of the biggest issues is if you look at most of the households, they've got the Wii's, Facebook. I mean, a lot of the parents they send their kids in to play PlayStation 3, Facebook, whatever it is that they do. And the parents, because their kids aren't disturbing them while they're watching a drama on one of the 300 channels they got at home, they're not communicating with their child. How many parents? The question we ask parents is, when your kid wants to go to a friend's house, do you know what the name of your kid's friend is? Do you know where they live? Do you know who they are? There's kids that bring home mobile phones. They bring home stuff. The parents don't even bother to ask. Now, when you get away with it once and twice and 3 times and you don't ask, that's your responsibility as a parent. If you do not have the skills and you don't want to raise your kids, don't have them. You know what I mean? And I don't mean it in a mean way. I just mean, like, if you want to live your life just worrying about yourself, then don't bring somebody into this life and let them go on this path. You know what I mean? Because religiously speaking, we're responsible for the behaviour of our kids, because it's up to us to guide them on the right path, with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course. But the other thing is, you look at if we look at what's happening today, everybody's got these channels at home, and to me that really bugs me because what are we actually learning? What do we learn? There's unfortunately, if I wanted to talk as a Muslim, I'm going to talk as a Muslim. Sometimes I feel when I'm sitting down between me and God, and I think to myself, this is not our religion. The behaviour that's being portrayed by so many people is not our religion. Is purity, is tahara, is mu'amala, is a Muslim walking past another Muslim and just smiling at him, As far as I remember, or as far as I know, our religion is do not judge, for I am the judger. Yet we've taken it upon ourselves to judge. And we have become so critical as Muslims to judge. We just want to judge who this guy goes for, who this guy... Brother, each person has their own views and they have their own belief. And they have... What he does is between him and God, not between you and him. Who are you to say you are right, you are wrong? Yes, guide, but guide in the mannerisms that Allah wants us to guide in. Don't guide in the anger and that's not our religion, brother. So it upsets me as a Muslim to see people hijacking their religion and trying to use it for their own personal needs rather than for what religion is all about.
Yep, and I mean, there are some examples of that in community where there are groups of people and young people. Oh, we have a caller. We actually have a caller. Okay, guys, we're going to remind you, you can actually call. Ghandi and Danny will not arrest you. I don't know if you're arrested by the chicken in front of you at home or you're intimidated by two police officers live on air. You don't have to mention your name. You can remain anonymous. Just say Mohamed. There's the most popular name in the world. Say Mohamed from Bankstown.
I can't even arrest myself. So that doesn't matter.
But yeah, we remind you to give us a call on 9758 3399. Don't make us beg our friends privately and text them to call. We want you to call to show that this is a serious topic and it deserves its due justice. If you have serious questions, we have two police officers live on air who are willing to answer them for you. Sorry, community liaison officer and a police officer.
And so just picking up again on that point about parents, but what can you practically do as a parent? Say, for example, you have a 15-year-old son and he started going out at night, hanging on the streets. You don't really know what he's up to. What can you actually do? You're going to dob him into the cops if you see him doing something dodgy.
Can I, sorry, just because the answer's right in my head. One is don't see. Unfortunately, what happens is we've got heaps of domestic violence, which is another issue. We've got people that go overseas and remarry. Do you know what I mean? You've got young kids that still need their father or need their mother. So, unfortunately, what happens is that there isn't that conviction as a parent in raising your child. You sort of some people just take having children as, yes, I've got children now and yallah, littakil Allah, you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. It is a lot of hard work. No way are we saying we're the perfect parents, but my God, whatever happened to going out on a Sunday with the kids and kicking a ball in the backyard? Whatever happened to sitting down and playing little games with your kids?
Quality time.
Exactly, brother. There's and sister Zeynab. But unfortunately, these days it's all about yes, we got to work, we got bills, we got alhamdulillah. You know what I mean? But we gotta give that family time. Who asks their kids when they come home from school, how was school? How was homework? How was kaza? How was you have to be the parent and you have to be the friend as well. You know what I mean? So
it's a tough gig because I know parents want to be authoritative. You don't want them to come across as soft and weak, but at the same time, you don't want kids to take advantage of their parents' weakness. So I found out with my father. My father was very strict, and as you were talking about Danny and Ghandi, he would ask those questions, and my friends walk in, it was an interrogation process. Who are you? What's your father's name? What does your dad do for work? Are you related to this person? I don't know if it was his cop background, but that's just how he was.
Sounds like a smart man.
But it led to alhamdulillah, and I had this sort of respect. I like this whole idea of how it's about respect, not fear. Because fear instills a sense of rebellion, but respect is something that is innate and you're more likely to resonate with. So I really like that point about the respect and the fear.
Can I just to add to this point before we move on? If we want to look at how do we know what's the impact on our youth when it comes to schools? Have a look at the suspension and expulsion rates of our kids.
Yep.
The number of kids, and what really gets to me is when the parents are called up, their kids have done the wrong thing, and they sit there and they want to defend them. and they've done the wrong thing, and even when we go to the school, even the teachers, they're not trying to work against the parents, they're trying to work with the parents to get their kid on the right path. And I've lost count of the number of parents that sit there and say, no, it wasn't my kid. But it was your kid. No, but because his name is this, or because it's not true.
It's the victim card.
Victim mentality.
Why don't we focus on the behaviour than always trying to come up with an excuse of getting out of it rather than facing it? See, we try to be macho and men and whatever, but we're too scared to look at where we went wrong. Brother, let me tell you, man, everyone knows I make mistakes every now and then. You know, when I do, brother, I put my hand up. I say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You know what I mean?
You cop it on the chin.
Yeah, I do, brother, and I learn from it. And my intention and Danny's intention when we're out there is never to hurt any of our community. Our intention is always, you know what we say to all the kids we deal with? If you grow up better than us, we're happy. We're happy if your kids are better than my kids. I'm happy. Danny's happy because once they're better than us, then we know we've got a good community.
Okay, Zeynab, we're getting a few phone calls now. People have had their chicken and doom, and now their stomachs are full. They're happy. But yeah, we've got a phone call.
So we have a question from an anonymous mum who has a 9-year-old son who's having trouble at school, forging letters. He's been sent home for lying, and she's just wondering what can she, as a mother, do to make him a leader and not a follower at this very early age.
Look, that's an excellent question. Look, and without delving into too much of what's happening at home, because again, what Ghandi and I do is always look what are the causes, what are the root causes for this, why this behaviour, has this been learnt from someone around him, or is something happening at home translating into the actions at the school? But you know what, with a 9-year-old, especially at that age, it takes someone, hopefully within the family, who's got the ability to extract that information from him because of love and affection and care. Now, if that's not available in that home, this is where counsellors come in. And this is the problem. I find our community tends to shy away from counsellors when they do an absolutely magnificent job.
Because I think there's this mentality where we don't want to air our dirty laundry.
No, I'm just saying easy on the mics because the mics are echoing.
Just in regards to what Danny's saying, if I could just add, if she wants to leave her number, mate, we're happy to talk to her because, I mean, if the sister wants to leave her number, I mean, it's all confidential. No one knows anything. Like we're happy to actually just to understand by talking over the phone, face to face, and then if we can't help, there's a lot of people out there that can guide. But we one thing that we do a lot, brother, is we also go to houses. We love and whether it's with our youth liaison officers or whatever, we like to actually get involved with our families and our community on a personal level. We don't treat them like, this person's come in, they've got a problem. We like to actually go that extra mile because you know what, brother, what I found out over the years is you reap what you sow. And because of the relationship that we've established with the community, regardless of the haters out there, brother, but we always say, Danny's taught me, judge us by who doesn't like us, our enemy, you know what I mean? Because those that don't like us, you've got to ask yourself the question, why don't you like us? What have we done to you? It's what is it? Is it what we are doing, or is it what we have done to you? It's not because we've never hurt anybody. But ask yourself, what are you doing to other people? If we wanted to talk about some incidences in this area, for example, robberies, who are the victims? The victims are fellow Muslims. We see.
So it's Muslims robbing Muslims.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, and that's what it is. It's what they do is they wait for somebody that can't defend themselves. They're by themselves, and they attack them. Just normal business people.
That sounds cowardly.
Beyond cowardly, And then when you go to do your job, they have the nerve to turn around and say, derogatory things. I'm thinking, but man, your mum rang us up or your dad rang us up because they're sick and tired of your behaviour.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into too much detail, but the parents ring us and say, please help us. And then you have these guys' friends saying, but you don't even know what his parents say about what their own kid.
That's right, yeah. I mean? Look, Ghandi, we've got a caller, our first caller for today, so we'll put him on line 1. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me? No? Hello, Assalamu alaikum, can you hear me? Oh, no, they can't. So, do you love the technology of Lakemba? Can the police do something about that as well? Okay, well, look, and we'll get onto that point. I actually want to touch onto you guys and see how you guys deal with these haters. For a very frank question, how do you deal with being called, and I'm going to use terms that I'm not directing at you, but what I've heard, pig, dog, sell out, you're with them, you're with the kuffar. These are very strong terms.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Look, you know what? We've learned, I think, through our years and our experience on who's worth engaging and who's not worth engaging in that kind of stuff. I'll give you one story. A few years ago, I was working on the road in Bankstown, and I responded to a 000 call where a child was drowning in a pool. So I was the first officer on scene. We beat the ambulance there, and the child was still in the pool. I jumped in, took the kid out, and started to perform CPR on the child. Now the child, unfortunately, had already lost consciousness and probably had been in the pool for a little while before the mother noticed, unfortunately. Anyway, I spent probably 10 hours at that house dealing with all that comes with a child deceased and it was a Muslim family. So obviously helping in dealing with the death messages to the rest of the family, liaising with certain mosques and all that kind of stuff. It was a long and very arduous shift. After that 10 hours, I just went down the road to a shopping centre to get something to eat quickly before I took over and went to end my shift. And as I walked through the shopping centre, a kid screams out, "Pigs!" And I just looked at this kid and I said to him, "You've got no idea what I've just been through." Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm putting it in perspective. What have I just done? What were we dealing with? And all the stuff that we had to do to not just do our duty, but to do our duty as a fellow Muslim as well. And you look at this idiot and you're like, he's got no concept of what he's saying just to impress his mates. Do you know what I'm saying? But it got to me, so I pulled him aside and took him for a drive in the car, which was interesting for him, and told him exactly what I'd just been doing. And he just started crying. And I said, "I'm just going to take you back to your dad and tell him exactly what you just said." No, please. He started kissing my hand, please. So I dropped him off, and I'll let him off. But you can't always do that in those occasions. But at the end of the day, look, we're not ignorant of the fact or oblivious as to when people just chuck words for whatever reason. I mean, think you go to a football game and the abuse you hurl at a referee or you hurl at the opposition team, you don't know the person personally. You're seeing what they represent because it represents someone against your team, right? And it's silly to put your mind in their mind to get in that fact. But like Andy said, people need to reflect on themselves and say, why do I think this? Why are you against a group or an organisation that doesn't want rape, doesn't want crime, doesn't want childs getting molested? Look, is that really so bad? Are we such a bad entity?
It seems illogical. And I always use the example of if your house gets robbed and you're a guy who has this stereotype about police, who's the first person or people you call? The police,
the Ghostbusters. Can I just add? There's a family. I'm just gonna, a family. Their son's behaviour was getting out of control, and they haven't even been here for that long. They weren't overseas, and they couldn't live there. It was a Middle Eastern country. That's all I want to say. They came back because that country couldn't offer them what they needed to be offered to be able to survive. So I don't respect anyone that drinks from a cup and spits back in it. Do you know what I mean?
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly, brother. Like we, as I said in the beginning, we take advantage of our positions, and we do. And you know what? We're supported by our bosses. Not once has any member said, "I want to see" or "I want to speak to" or whatever, and we haven't organised something for them. When we know somebody is maybe has been hard done by, we will go out of their way. We will go out of our way for them. And you know what I mean, sister? So.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, because you know how we were talking about Muslim on Muslim crime, right? But we've heard a lot of things going around about gangs, Muslim gangs who have the mentality that it's okay to commit crimes because we're in a kuffar land, and because if you're selling drugs, for example, to kuffar, it's okay because they're not Muslim. And so how common is this, and what can we do to address these sort of mentalities?
Sorry, Danny. Just really, when you go to a country, like religiously speaking, you have to obey the laws of the country that you're in. Okay, that's number one. The other second aspect that I love about our religion, it's if you hurt anything that's living, it's as if you've hurt of all of mankind, and if you save anything injured, it's as if you have saved all of mankind. That to me is the purity of our religion. Sorry, Danny.
Look, I just want to say to these people, I asked them one question, and I'll keep my mouth shut after that. Just give me one example of where the Prophet allowed his Sahaba to commit crime to Ahl Kitab, to the Mushrikeen. Think about that. He didn't even allow them to commit crimes to those that were against his way of living, to religion itself. So I don't understand. They've got no religious footing to stand on, these people. Absolutely zero.
And does it infuriate you that they use their religion as a pretext or as a guise or justification to commit these crimes and break the law?
It doesn't infuriate. It saddens. Because why don't you go and get a job? This country offers you so much, and anyone that says I can't get a job because my name is Mohammed, brother, that's so untrue, And the beauty about us supposedly being Muslims, okay, because Cat Stevens or Yusuf Islam, when he reverted to Islam, said, I was glad I was introduced to Islam before I was introduced to the people or to the Muslims. What does that mean if you think about what that means? So that we can't judge the religion by the behaviour of people,
Okay, and I think we've sorted out our phone call thing, so we're going to try this now. Can everyone at home say Bismillah?
Bismillah.
And see if this works. Hello, we have a caller on line 1. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? No, they can't. All right, look, we're going to go to a song, and we're going to go to a nasheed, inshallah. We'll be right back.
I thought Ghandi was going to sing it there.
No.
We don't want to disturb our listeners at home. I'm joking.
Or the chickens.
Give us a call on 9758 3399. Look, we'll try one more time with the caller. If that doesn't work, then we're going to go to a break because technology is very poor. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, you can. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Taha.
Oh, Mustafa, how are you?
Can everyone hear me? Am I on here?
Yeah, you're on there. And guys, we've resorted to phoning friends to call into this now.
At least you got friends.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know anyone.
Absolutely. So Mustafa from, where is it, Bankstown? Or what's the question to the two gentlemen with us?
Well, relax now. Come on now. I want to give a bit of an intro. Danny, do you remember me? I'm a Mustafa, if you remember.
Something to do with chocolate strawberries.
Anyways, I just want to say, well, first of all, I am Rashani, so I've been part of the White Factor stuff. But I just want to say that what you guys are talking about at the moment is actually a really, really interesting and excellent talk. And I think the community really needs to start talking about these things because it's very much a taboo subject. It's very much, we have an environment of, pushing things under the rug. So my hat is off to both you gentlemen for speaking about these things. But I think there is a bit of an issue between the relationship between the police force and Muslim youth, if I can say it that way. A lot of stories I hear personally. Can you guys still hear me? Or
yeah, we can.
Yeah,
but
we can.
brother, just before you go any further, you just said a lot of stories that you hear. So when you say stories, can you elaborate what you mean by stories?
Yeah, well, I was going to tell one. That's right. I was just making sure that you guys were there because I couldn't hear anything.
No, that's okay.
Right. So I'll just give a quick story that I heard really recently that kind of put me off. There was an officer that pulled over one of my friend's fathers.
Yep.
And of course, he's an older kind of man. Someone that when you look at, you automatically respect. He's one of those kind of men. And he pulled over this man, and he had his wife and his two daughters in the back seat. And the officer said to him, he started talking to him in a disrespectful manner. And when my friend's father replied with, is there a problem? Like, what's going on? The officer started yelling at him, saying, what have you done? Have you got any drugs in the car? Things like that. And when my friend was telling me this, it was his dad, obviously, and he was quite upset about it. He said to me that if I ever saw that, if I was there with the police officer, I wouldn't have let him scream at my dad like that. But the point I'm trying to make is not that the police officer shouldn't have screamed or whatnot. It's that it goes both ways. So 100%, there is absolutely a problem of disrespect to authority from the youth of the community. But I have a question. My question is the other side working towards building respect for the youth?
Well, I'm not gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you something that we're doing right now. If anybody comes to the station, whether it's Bankstown or KMC, this is where we work. This is our bread and butter. Okay, this is our community, and anybody that comes to us, and brother, on Monday I've got a certain high-ranking senior officer coming to a certain place to meet with somebody that has grievances. Okay, not from this area at all. Now, and I honestly know this person very well, and it's not because I know this person. It's because I believe that personally this person would have been hard done by. So we've organised. So this high-ranking officer is coming from his command to speak to him. If we honestly feel that somebody has been hard done by, we will go out of our way. As I said in the beginning of the show, we will not go hard on our youth, but if police officers or any professional, or so to speak... What happened?
Okay.
Hello?
No, sorry, continue, go.
Are you still there, brother?
I think we've lost him.
Okay, but look,
I'm sure he's listening.
Just continue.
Yeah, just to add, look, if we believe that somebody that has been hard done by, we don't let it go. There's avenues for people to complain. There's avenues for people to do things if they honestly believe. But don't go committing every crime under the sun, then come in and say, I want to complain. You know what I mean? That's where you think, well, brother, you can't, don't, don't be a hypocrite, The other thing is, with our community, is we like to commit crimes, but the minute we're caught by police officers, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, well, you commit crimes, what do you think is going to happen if you get caught? If you are committing them. I'm not saying maybe you are, I'm saying if you're caught, Mohamed, you're distracting me.
Sorry, Danny, do you want to
Look,
add
I
to
might
that?
just adjust to Mustafa's question. Look, and like Andy said, we're not under any illusions that there aren't, officers that maybe shouldn't be officers.
Yep.
Just like I'm sure all of us know a bad mechanic and a bad plumber. I mean, there's
I don't know any bad plumbers.
I know plenty of them. So I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to get that.
Mate, some police officers go after us. You know what I mean?
Really?
And I swear to God, brother, I'm too straightforward or something. I don't know if that's true or not. Well, we say it how we see it. And it upsets people. And there are police that get upset when we say things. There is. And, instead of like them coming up to us and saying, what do you mean by that or whatever, they get upset, and you think, mate, you're a police officer. If we upset you because of this, then, my God, like, it's sad, you know what I mean? But there are police officers that, go after, or like through the system that's in place, so it's not just police on the public. It's just like it's public on public or civilian on civilian, so to speak. Mate, it goes the other way as well.
And there's discrimination within the police force.
What do you mean by discrimination?
I mean, as you're saying, you do in a jokative sort of way, but people do. You will have, other police officers who will look at you and think, Well,
I didn't mean it in that sense. I meant that, sometimes if somebody misunderstands something you might have said or done, or there's allegations. I mean, don't think police just sit back and allow that sort of behaviour to happen.
So what you're saying is police have their own part to play within the police force to sort of improve their own institutional structures.
Absolutely, and it's a very, very strong movement amongst the police force. I mean, and Ghandi and I've been part of it our whole career. Where we've always trying to improve the customer experience, so to speak, if you want to look at it that way. Look, just one thing people need to be wary of. Like I said, I was comparing it to mechanics or plumbers or whatever. Understand the nature of what we see.
Yep.
If I took you in the car driving on a 12-hour shift, the variety of different things you would see is one thing, but you are seeing the absolute worst of the worst. And if you don't think people aren't getting psychologically affected by that, I mean, think about the trauma. You see something like we see the amazing, the disgusting scenes of Burma and different things overseas, and we're shattered by it, right? But when was the last time you held a baby that was burnt alive? Or do you know what I'm saying? Yep. There are some things that we go through, and we are the front line in the detritus of society. So
what's that word, Danny?
The waste. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So psychologically, it's going to impact on you, and when it's hard to do a job when all you're thinking next is what's he got in his pocket. Yep. What's he going to pull out now? What's she going to do? Do you know what I'm saying? So the politeness and all the little sensitivities that you'd have at, say, a customer relations officer at a bank, that doesn't have those secondary concerns about their physical well-being. Yep. or the mortality of their partner.
Can I put it to you this way, brother? You tell me someone that doesn't work goes into Centrelink, all right? Because they've had them wait an extra 2 minutes in line. Have you seen them go off? Yeah.
Short attention span, but they want money from the government.
Exactly. Yeah. So just to put things in perspective, that there is the police always trying to improve? Of course they are. Is there systems in place to do with that? Of course there is. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And guys, we're just going to have to wrap up. We got a message from the caller who said, thanks for the feedback and he really appreciates your answers. So that was a previous caller, Mustafa. We're going to have to wrap up. So in 1 minute, just to encapsulate, we spoke about a whole range of issues in 1 minute.
Can we just...
Or in 30 seconds, wrap up the core message of why you were here and what you want to relate to the community.
Okay, I'll let Danny do that because I just want to speak just about tomorrow.
Yep.
About the Eid.
Okay. Look, all I can say is, number one, as parents, please take an active role in your child's education. I'm sick of seeing the 3%, 5% attendance rates of parent-teacher nights. I'm sick of parents that tell me my son never does exams, doesn't get a school report because they're falling for their kids' rubbish that's lying to them. All kids do exams in this country. All kids get report cards. There's parent-teacher nights at every school. For the love of God, go to them. Just like you'd be willing to get babysitting to go to a hafle or go to a party or some kind of wedding or reception or whatever.
Or some Turkish dublage.
I'm pretty sure you can sacrifice 45 minutes for your child's education.
Yep. And Ghandi?
Well, I just wanted to say, firstly, on behalf of me, Danny, or Danny and I, the correct English, and I can honestly say on our bosses who are absolutely fantastic and support community engagement, and inshallah bin aad on the whole Islamic Ummah. Inshallah Allah yawahid the Islamic Ummah, or at least just get them to be civil, because what you see on TV hurts. As Muslim it hurts. Mate, we're all parents. We wish, inshallah, just one day, inshallah, we just wake up and what's supposed to happen happens, whatever it is that it's meant to happen. I don't know anymore. But tomorrow, please, for everybody to get there a little bit early to Lakemba Mosque, to park, to adhere to the directions of SES. The reason why SES and the police are there is for their safety. Please do not cross the road until you're told to cross the road. The reason you see parents with their prams, the mum's actually waiting on the footpath and the pram is on the road. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So please.
It starts with the little things.
Just respect, basically.
Well, mate, or a car, wiping away the pram. I mean, that's beyond disrespect,
Definitely.
But look, there's a lot of things that we can talk about, but thank you so much, Brother Mohammed, for the opportunity. Zainab, thank you so much, sister. And
Sister Tasneem in the back.
Tasneem, thank you so much.
Around in the background.
Brother, mate, I've got the utmost respect for you, brother. I'm very proud of you and your colleagues, and mate, Allah al-Wikun. That's on behalf of me and my brother Danny, and mate, we're here for our community. Brother, if anyone needs our help, mate, we're here for it.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Jazakallahu khairan to Danny and Ghandi from New South Wales Police. We really appreciate your time and we're happy to have you back on the program anytime, inshallah. We're going to go to a short break and be right back. We're going to talk Eid, Hajj and Arafah. So give us a call on 9758 3399. We're going to take calls shortly. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
Mountains of Mecca, what can you say of the day that Abraham passed your way? And he was instructed by God to build a house of peace where people will pray, and they will come on every lean camel and out of every ravine for the purpose of praising Allah, to glorify Allah. Oh, mountains of Mecca, what can you tell of the day that stones from the sky fell, destroying an army determined to break the house of Allah that Abraham built? Oh, mountains of Mecca, how was the dawn on the day that my prophet Muhammad was born? How did it feel knowing he was to be the last and most beloved of all, Rasul of Allah, Nabi of Allah? when the Prophet Muhammad climbed down in despair. Engraved in his heart were the words of his Lord. To all of mankind this was his call. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. All people praise only Allah, glorify Allah. Mountains of Mecca, how did you mourn on the day that the beloved returned to his Lord? And up till the last breath escaped from his lips, he prayed that his ummah would find success. Oh, mountains of Mecca, how will it feel when the earth shall quake and tremble with fear? And we shall be gathered together to stand in the court of Allah with our deeds at hand. Oh, how we pray that on that day we'll be with those to whom Allah will say, peace be with you, I am pleased with you. Oh, mountains of Mecca, bear witness that to the oneness of Allah do I testify. For all that He's given me, how can I deny? My purpose in life should be only to cry. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, Muhammad is His messenger. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah.
Your line
Muhammad is His messenger. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad Rasulillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad Nabi Allah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Welcome back to the Y Factor on 87.6 FM. We hope you've enjoyed the episode thus far. We had an honest discussion with Danny and Ghandi from New South Wales Police about issues in the community. And now, inshallah, we're going to be talking Arafah, Eid, and inshallah Hajj. So basically, obviously, we all know today was the day of Arafah in Saudi Arabia, which is full of millions of Muslims. I'm opening up the stats right now. So this is what was, from an article yesterday. There were 2.5 million believers that descended to Hajj this year in Mecca, and they were from 189 countries, men, women and children who were wearing the same clothes, all dressed in white, gathered early Thursday morning to Mount Arafah in Saudi Arabia's west, and they took part in the main rituals of the annual Hajj. Many pilgrims had camped overnight in the sprawling... So many people had camped overnight in preparation for Arafah, which is a very significant day in the life of a Muslim. And for Muslims here, as I'm aware of, many Muslims were fasting today as the rewards are immense. Inshallah, they're accepted. Our fast is accepted so we can reap the maximum rewards. They say during the remaining 3 days of the Hajj, the pilgrims will continue to the stoning ritual before performing the circumambulation of the Kaaba shrine in Mecca, and then they head home. As we all know, the Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam that every capable and able Muslim, and that takes into account financial, physical ability as well, must perform at least once in their lifetime. It's a blessed occasion and always one that we look forward to. And we've actually got some callers on the line, so we're just going to go to them, inshallah, before we talk more about Eid and Arafah. So we're going to go to caller number 2, which is on. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Thank God. Very good. How
That's
are you?
good. Yeah, who do we have with us?
My name is Zalman Castell. Mohammed, it's great to be on the show.
Oh, Rabbi Zalman, how are you?
I think Mohammed is pretending like he doesn't know who you are.
Well, that happens from time to time.
Yeah, it does happen.
They don't know me, but that's part of life.
Rabbi Zalman, can you move away slowly from the radio? Are you near a radio at all?
I'm not near a radio.
Okay, that's Lakemba, Rabbi Zalman. Welcome to Lakemba on air. Thank you very much for your call. And yeah, as we know, Eid is tomorrow. So what message would you like to, I guess, say? What would you like to say?
Look, I just wish everyone a very special Eid. I'm not sure what the right word is. I didn't actually, I must say, I didn't know about Arafat until today. I was on Twitter last night and saw some messages about it and thought, I actually don't know very much about that. But it's your holiest day of the year that's just passed, hasn't it?
Yes, it is. And it also has a significance with our Judeo-Christian brethren because we are commemorating their great sacrifice, the sacrifice that the patriarch Abraham had to go through. And, you know, that is epitome of sacrifice in the Islamic tradition, you know, him kind of saying to God, everything I have, including, you know, the most precious thing to me, my son, is up for you. So at the day of Arafat, well, this Eid is Eid-ul-Adha, and we are commemorating that great sacrifice of Abraham. But the day of Arafat itself is we commemorate the pilgrims who are actually on the mountain of Arafat, and they're asking God for forgiveness, they're asking God for mercy. So I think it's a really special time, but I think now that we have a rabbi on the phone, I think it's even more special for us because this Eid is about celebrating these Judeo-Christian Islamic values that we all have and we all share and we all come together in that great patriarch Abraham.
Absolutely, and I think it's unfortunate, that phrase Judeo-Christian, because there really, when we talk about sacrifice and we talk about God and talk about mercy and justice, and whatever it is people will say is really important in Judeo-Christian is actually just as my limited knowledge would be just as much important in Islam.
That's right. I think we think, why did you stop there? Keep it going to the third one, Judeo-Christian Islamic.
Yeah, exactly, as you said it. That's right. I mean, yeah, and people get hung up on, you know, of course, some Jews might get hung up on the Torah talking about what the name of the son was and whether it was Ishmael or someone else. But as you say, you know, what is really worth celebrating is that unselfishness, that commitment of someone really not thinking what do I want and what's good for me, but how can I show the ultimate respect, and how can I show that incredible sacrifice. So yeah, I mean, you guys were talking before about police and, you know, traffic and being busy at Lakemba tomorrow and that kind of respect. It's human. It's not, you know, it's not at that level. I think we can all connect. So yeah, what's the proper greeting for Eid?
So it's Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
Yeah,
not Hosni Mubarak. He just happened to have the name. It is Eid Mubarak. So if you ever forget the greeting, just replace the dictator's first name with Eid and keep the Mubarak, and you should be fine.
That's a great way for him to reference it, Tasneem.
Now, so, Mubarak, does Mubarak mean blessed?
Yes, blessed.
Right. So in Hebrew, it would be Mivorach is blessed as well.
Because I think both Arabic and Hebrew have those very, you know, the Kha, the Ain, like the full-on.
Yeah.
I think the roots of the language are very similar.
Yeah, the Semitic roots of
it. Yeah. So
look, we can bond over Abraham. We can bond over, you know, Kha, because I don't think half the Anglos can even say that letter.
Yeah.
So I think
we say Ahmed and they say Ahmed, and I'm where did the KH come from? But hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, so Eid Mubarak, and thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm sure there's a stack of other callers. I mean, I'm enjoying the conversation, but I don't want to hog the show. So, look, just wishing everybody, all the Muslims here in Sydney and wherever else in the world they'd come and listen to the show to have Eid Mubarak and it be blessed by God. And the Korban, I think, Korban. Could you just quickly, what's the deal with Korban?
Qurban is a sacrifice. So again, as I mentioned to you, we are commemorating what the Prophet Abraham did. But the way we commemorate that is by giving charity and also a sacrificial sacrifice of an animal. And the meat of this animal goes to the poor people and those who are less fortunate. Yeah. So again, with all Islamic celebrations, it's just not about the individual. It's kind of the communal aspect of it, bringing back the community, bringing back the less fortunate, and thinking, in a non-selfish manner. And again, that's what the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions have all in common.
Awesome. Thank you, Rabbi Zalman, very much for your Eid wishes for the Muslims of Australia and beyond.
Thank you. And Eid Mubarak.
Great to hear from you. God bless. Bye.
Okay, so we have been talking about the day of Arafah, and we just had a previous caller who rang, not on air, who just wanted to kind of give a comment saying, it's the day of Arafah, we're here to celebrate, let us celebrate. So definitely for those who have fasted, I think what a better way to celebrate than on this auspicious day. There is a hadith in Sahih Tirmidhi that says there is no day on which Allah frees people from the fire more than on the day of Arafah. He comes close to those people standing on Arafah, and then he reveals before his angels saying, what are these people seeking? So obviously when these people seek dua or otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants their dua. So we have another caller?
Yep, we'll put him on air if that's possible. Hello? No, Zeynab's got a... Yeah, there we go. Now it's on air. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Similar to the reply. Hello, Mohamed. My name's Richard.
Hey, Richard, how are you?
Zalman, how are you today?
Zalman's off air. Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Excellent. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Richard. I actually work with the Uniting Church.
Yep.
And next year I'll be studying to become an ordained minister. So I thought I'd ring up and wish you all happy and healthy Eid.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, Richard. And, we had a good conversation with Zalman about the Judeo-Christian and hopefully Islamic term that we're going to make all together. Because, there are a lot of, I guess, the roots of our religion, the free Abrahamic faith. It's very good to see this sort of stuff happening where we are commemorating and celebrating each other's festivities, which is really important. So we really appreciate it, Richard.
Yeah. Well, my understanding is that Eid is similar to the Christian Pentecost. So I thought I might give you a blessing which my church did on the day of Pentecost this year.
For the listeners that don't actually know the significance of the Pentecost, can you just explain briefly what that is?
Sure.
Thank
Pentecost is when the Christians believe that the Spirit came down onto earth, and that's kind of when the church started. It's 40 days after Easter, which is when we believe that Jesus died on the cross. So then we go through the 40 days leading up to the day of Pentecost. And so it's actually one of our more holy days. So I might give you one of the blessings which we read out this year in church. It goes, may God's breath stream within you. May God's breath renew you. May God's breath invigorate you. And may you walk with confidence into this day.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
We appreciate it, Richard.
Richard, I think it was actually very opportune that, Rabbi went first, you as a Christian went second, because I think with the Islamic faith, we do have this principle of looking up to all the previous prophets, whether it be, Noah, Jesus, Abraham, Moses, so these great patriarchs. And I think for Muslims, it's actually really, really heartening to see that their fellow brethren, whether it be the Christians and the Jews, kind of embracing them. So they're, kind of to do away with the hostility between these faiths and kind of see it as, one monotheistic tradition. And we're very proud of this monotheistic tradition.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I most appreciate about working with Muslims is the way that, you respect Christians and Jews and we honour the same prophets.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it, Richard, and we thank you for your kind words. It's an amazing gesture, and I hope Muslims, even though they're probably eating now because they're fasting, they're probably still eating, Richard, but while they're eating their chicken, they can appreciate, your phone call and really take that to heart.
And with Richard, I really do hope you actually get to experience some Eid celebrations. I think because it's in the communal, worship of God that the hearts do come together, and people realise that at the end of the day, they're very common humanity, and it's a faith that binds us all. And Mohammed is just motioning to me to tell you to eat lots of sweets. So I guess you can take it on both levels.
When I see you next, Richard, I'll bring some sweets as well. They might be a few weeks old, but hey, sugar's good. Baklava is good anytime.
It'll work for me. Don't worry, it'll work for me.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you, Richard.
You guys.
We appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
So I think that was really nice, Saha. I know you probably coordinated it to have all your friends ringing, but I think sometimes as Muslims we actually forget that living in a non-Muslim majority country, the importance of actually sharing these really, really important celebrations with others, especially those of the Judeo-Christian faith. Because what are we doing in Eid-ul-Adha? It's a commemoration of Prophet Abraham and the immense sacrifice, and also, the pilgrimage, what they're going through. And sometimes we kind of, while you're making ma'mool and hello and spending time with your tata, you actually forget to look out the window to your neighbours who might be Christians and Jews, sit and have a frank chat about, with them about this Eid, and be like, look, we are celebrating.
Or give
Prophet
sweets
Abraham.
to your neighbours. That's not haram.
No, definitely. But I think this Eid, we can take it as an opportunity to capitalise on the meaning behind this Eid as a common ground for kind of dialogue with our neighbours, with our work colleagues. Because, the Rabbi, as educated as they are, and they know about these traditions, it's kind of really shocking for them, for ordinary Muslims, to be like, hey, Abraham, hey, Moses, So I think it's really important for us common Muslims to bring these values back. And to kind of instill that in our children, in our, friends and things like that, for them to actually share, the Eid joy and the Eid messages with those
Absolutely,
around us.
and I think that'll come with more understanding. We're actually getting some more calls, which is really good. As you were saying as well, Tasnim, I think if Muslims understand the meaning of Eid itself, then that hopefully we can bridge that gap with our Christian and, Judaic brethren. If we understand the meaning of Eid and the sacrifice of Abraham with his son Ishmael, and just reading about it, because many people just brought up with Eid is Eid. Eid is a day off work. Eid is a day off school, or a day off college, or it's my day off. I get a few days off to catch up with family, but I don't really know what it means in English, and etc. So we've got another phone call on the line. Alhamdulillah, we're actually getting a lot of calls. So you can tell the topic difference, police, everyone's anxious. We only get one call, but now we've got a few, which is really good.
Well, I actually had one off air saying, why are you speaking about, such a gloomy topic, but I think it just happened. So we do apologise to our listeners for kind of having that gloomy topic on this day. But now we're going to take it to the festivities, and we have Faye from Seafood Delight on the telephone. Welcome to the show. Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
And what would you like to say to the Muslims of Australia?
The team at Seafood Delight would just like to wish them Eid Mubarak, Eid-ul-Adha Mubarak, and wish everybody a safe day tomorrow and in the future.
Inshallah. Is this Seafood Delight from Chester Hill by any chance?
Yes, it is.
My goodness. Sorry, I have to plug you guys. This is seriously not planned. Wallah. They have some of the best seafood I've tasted in Sydney. So I had their fish and chips about 2 months ago with my brother Rabbi. I'm not a big seafood fan, but it was really, really good, mashallah. Jazakallah khairan for that message. It means a lot.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you, and good luck, and you guys do a wonderful job. We'd like to thank you so much.
Jazakallah khairan, sister. We appreciate it.
Okay, yalla, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Now, there's only a couple of minutes left before we have to break for Adhan al-Isha. But again, we wanted to speak about Hajj, because I think if anyone's kind of on Facebook and seeing the constant updates coming through the Facebook feed of those who are in Hajj, and you see their pictures around the Kaaba, around the Haram, in their tawaf, and more recently today on Arafat, your heart kind of, beams and flies, and you say, I wish that was me. I wish I was there in the Holy Land. Now, unfortunately, I've never had the pleasure of actually attending Hajj or Umrah. But Taha, last year you actually were invited to the Holy House. Can you kind of just tell us a bit about your sentiments? What happened when you actually made contact with this thing that you've probably been dreaming about all your life, and you're right there, you're seeing it in front of you? How did you feel?
Okay, it was, I went with my mates to the Middle East towards the, my memory's just lost me. Start of last year. It was the start of last year, very early on last year. We did Umrah, we did went to a few countries around the Middle East, and then we, embarked upon Umrah, which is a mini Hajj, essentially, in one way or another. We were very excited. On the way to Makkah al-Muharram, we were singing, we were saying Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, singing and chanting the slogan that millions of pilgrims have done. And I'm just trying to give you context here. This is Umrah. This is a feeling that I had with my friends about Umrah. I can only imagine the magnitude and the scale of the emotions and the spirituality and the religiosity for Hajj. So this is how I felt for Umrah. And I actually wrote this down. I'm a bit of an English geek. I put a diary entry on the way to Mecca, and this is what I wrote. Peace be upon you. I don't know who I'm sending my peace upon, but I've done it anyway. As much as I try to accept the fact that it's finally happening, a year's worth of planning is becoming a reality, slowly but surely on the long, winding desert road to Mecca. Words can't begin to describe how excited and anxious I am. Excited to be going to where every Muslim dreams of, but also anxious as I don't know what to expect. One can say, what do you mean you don't know what to expect? It's the Holy Land. It's the most honourable of places on earth. From every corner of the globe, from all nooks and crannies, Muslims enter Makkah al-Muharram modestly, bareheaded and stripped of all mundane attires. It is the village of villages housing the holy Kaaba. We should venerate it because it is the only place worthy of circumambulation. I know this, but I can't get my head around the fact that soon I will be there by God's will. I will see the Kaaba with my own eyes. I'll be praying in front of the holy Kaaba, knowing that behind me, millions upon millions of Muslims are facing the same direction. It's an amazing fact, but the feeling of experiencing it is what I am yet to know. So this was on the way to, seeing the Kaaba. It's obviously not about seeing it, it's about Umrah, but seeing it was huge because it is somewhat, what's the word when it seems, I guess, when you
grand?
See it, grand, not just grand, but it was surreal. That's the word. It was surreal. You see, you have canvases at home, it's your doorplace of the Kaaba, you watch it on TV, but to know you're on the way there and you're wearing the ihram, it's an amazing feeling.
Not just that, I think the ihram is really, really important, but if you read the hadith about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says actually to these pilgrims or to those who go to visit his house, there's a special hadith in the book of Tabarani that actually refers to this day of Arafah, but I think we can kind of take it, as if, just the feelings you were going through. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, as for you staying till the evening in Arafah, Allah descends to the sky of the dunya, and He boasts about you to the angel. He says, my slaves have come to me, looking rough from every deep valley, hoping for my mercy. So if your sins were equivalent to the amount of sand, or the drops of rain, or like the foam on the sea, I will forgive them. So go forth, my slave, having forgiveness, and for what you have been interceded for. So I just think, this is specifically in Arafah, but in your experience, you were kind of on that journey to come face to face with the Kaaba, and the dua is accepted there. This is Allah's house. Allah looks upon mercy. Right on top of that Kaaba that the angels are actually doing their tawaf in, their version of the Kaaba in the heavens. So I think this is just tremendous. So what did you feel when you actually love at first sight? When you saw it.
When we got there, this is the thing. They told everyone the guy who was taking care of our Umrah trip said, the first look you get at the Kaaba, you get to make a dua, and this dua is mustajib, so it is accepted. So think very carefully about what you want to say. 1,000,000 du'as spring to your head, your mum, your dad, yourself, your career, everything. Anyway, we walked down there, and I got told this dua on the way there, the most amazing dua, one of the most amazing du'as you can ever make, and I encourage everyone to make it as much as they can. We were told to say, "Oh Allah, make us of those of whom you will always accept their dua." Wow, right? It's forward thinking. SubhanAllah. So we got there, we seen the Kaaba, it blew our mind. Some of my friends broke down, some were in shock, some did not believe it was real. It was actually there. It was so grand, it looks big, but it's small, it's symbolic, but it's substantial. It was a whole lot of things, and we made that dua, and it was a beautiful feeling. So we've only got a few minutes left, but I wanted to say for all those who are doing Hajj and nearing the end of their Hajj rituals, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your Hajj, accept your dua, accept your prayers, accept your begging of forgiveness and mercy. It's important that you get emotional and you open your heart. You essentially spill the beans to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about everything, because this is a place to do it. And I'm in a way, I'm jealous in a good way that you're there, and it was written for you to attend there, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites those to His house. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. For all those who are here in Sydney, Eid is tomorrow. How exciting. Tasneem, are you excited about Eid? I mean, I can't wait. Obviously the sweets, but also the Abrahamic tradition and the sacrifice, etc.
Definitely. I think Eid is a very, very special time. But Taha, it's time for Aisha prayer.
Okay.
So listeners, we're just going to break really quickly just to take it to Aisha prayer. And inshallah, after that, we will come back and you can actually call in and say your Eid congratulations, give a shout out to, your tata to get extra Eid money this year, and just maybe even dedicate a nasheed to your fellow loved ones. So you're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM, and we're just going to stop here and go to Adhan Al-Aisha.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope you have a beautiful night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.